Howdy folks, it's Zach, and before we get started with Real Talk with Real Gamers episode 10, there's a few questions that came into me that I felt I probably should just do a special message and just let you guys know what these answers are so you guys don't have to keep guessing. So the first one was, hey Zach, why is it taking so long for your episodes to come out? They used to come out every single week. And the answer to that, quite simply, is I met a girl and I'm changing my career. So the things that I was doing before, I now have a lot less time to be able to invest into YouTube, but I still love gaming and I still love this channel and I still really appreciate all you guys as subscribers. And I still want to be able to put out information for you guys. I still think I have a lot to offer and a lot to say, and I love hearing what you guys have to say about video games. And I like to keep that dialogue going. So shows will continue to come out, it just will be at a slightly slower pace than it was before. Also, we also had the holidays recently. That slowed me down a little bit, and I've also had to revamp my computer. It just wasn't able to do what I wanted it for you guys, and I really want to be able to show a little bit more of the graphical fidelity of these games and, really kind of get into the nuts and guts of it. So I had to upgrade my computer, and then I was fighting with California power outages and internet outages due to all the storms that are out here. It was kind of a mess. Hopefully, as these things taper off into the spring a little bit, we'll get back onto a much more regular schedule. For this episode in particular, we actually recorded this, myself, Penny, and Xenoff, a couple weeks ago, maybe only a week and a half ago, but because of all the storms, I wasn't able to post it yet. So guys, I do hope you enjoy it, and I'll invite you after the show and during the show to leave comments and questions below, and I'm really serious about this, guys. The more questions that you guys ask, the better our shows become, because we really want to tackle your questions and get those dialogues going. We really do want to be an outlet for you guys to have a voice for video gaming in general. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the show, and here we go. Folks, it's Zach, and welcome back to my Star Wars Tips and Tricks section, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Real Gamers, starring myself and my two amazing co-hosts, Penny and Xenoff. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, Zach. How are you?
I'm a little sick. So, for all my viewers up there, I don't know if it's allergies. I don't know if it's me just being sick, but it's one or the other. But we're doing this anyway. We're getting this show out in a timely fashion. So, if you do hear me like blowing my nose or something like that, it's not me chucking a lung or anything like that. I promise. I'm not dying. It's just allergies. So, yeah, we're gonna tough it out through this. But but first things up tonight, guys. For all my audience members out there, for all of you who've been faithfully watching, you remember on our last episode when we announced that 5.2 was coming out and that there was going to be a new operation involved, you heard myself, Penny, and Xenoff pretty much beg shamelessly.
I have no shame.
New raids, everything is permitted.
Yeah, I know. It's like, we really pulled out all the stops to beg the devs for SWTOR to let us come in and test 5.2. And I can tell you that there's now 3 little letters that have changed our lives. And no, it's not STD, it is PTS.
Guys, you heard it right. We got into the PTS. Unfortunately, we can't talk about it, but the hype is still real. We are all super excited still. And honestly, they are still letting people into the PTS. They want people of every raid experience, and any type of experience, honestly, to come in and test so they can get really great feedback. So if you are interested in that, I'm sure Zach will, detail how to do that.
Yeah. And then also, guys, if you haven't been keeping up on the forums, they did have an open call for this PTS, which is amazing. But I will say this, guys, and Xenoff, he actually put it in the best words. Xenoff, what's the first rule of the PTS?
Don't talk about the PTS.
What's the second rule of the PTS?
Don't talk about the PTS.
That's right. So
PTS is Fight Club, guys.
PTS is basically like Fight Club. So, guys, I can't even tell you. I literally can't even tell you all the fun that we have had on the PTS. Although that was kind of a giveaway.
Literally can't even.
That it has been fun. But I do encourage all of you, just like Penny said, to jump out there with us. It's one of those things that they really are looking for players of all levels. There's a lot that's going to be tested. So right now, obviously, in the PTS, the announcement was made for 5.2 that there was going to be a new operations boss. And I can't say much about it. If you want to know about it, you do have to sign up for the PTS if you want to know about it now. And I will say that me having jumped in, and having not played for a while, it's been an awesome experience. I think that I could say it's been an awesome experience. I don't think that breaks any of the NDA the NDA rules. Do you think?
I don't think so. No, I mean, you can say, I mean, it has been a wonderful experience for all of us. Everyone that has been able to get on the PTS, it's been wonderful. Really, honestly, the only thing we can say is we're excited, it's been fun, and we really think that what is going on and everything like that will be a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. And I would say this too, guys. If you've never ever been a part of a beta for an MMO or a beta for testing for a game, or you've never done a PTS run on any of the major MMOs, it's something that every player should try at least once to get on there and see what that next thing coming out looks like. It gives you so many ideas, and it gives you a different look, a little bit behind the curtain of the video game and the video game design, which is just amazing. It's kind of like being backstage at Disneyland, if you ever could get that chance. I mean, Disneyland, when you go, it's this really pretty, polished, place full of all these amazing rides. But there's also networks of tunnels that go underneath the entire campus of Disneyland that guys have secret entrances, ins and outs for, and such like that. And when you're on a PTS, you're basically getting that level of experience with it, which is really cool. You're seeing these things as they are in development, and you are able to kind of workshop these things in a way you've never had before. I have a background as a martial artist and as an actor, and one of the great things like we used to do would we be able to work with like a really fantastic Broadway director and workshop scenes or parts from a show that we were doing, and you come out of that experience with a whole new outlook on it. And the PTS is really the same way. Like, what do you guys think about the PTS? Agreeing, disagreeing?
It's not my first time being in a beta test. I did some beta testing for Revelation Online and everything. And unfortunately, with it being a beta and closed and everything, we can't exactly talk about it. But
right.
For me, it's exciting to be able to do this for a game that I truly love. Like, I love SWTOR, I love my guild, and being able to do this, it just blows my mind. I mean, the excitement isn't feigned, it isn't fake. For me, it's really, truly, I am excited.
Yeah.
This is something I never thought in a million years, coming from someone who had never touched a raid aside from story mode, who had never done hard mode or worried about gear or rotation or anything. I was an RPer, a role player.
Yeah.
You heard that right. That is what I was. I never thought I would be here. I never thought I would be leading a guild. I never thought that my guild would be able to accomplish something this amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
How about you, Xenof? How do you feel about the PTS?
She took the words out of my mouth. It's awesome. I've PTS'd a lot, and not saying anything else about it, but this is the most dev interaction I've seen between testing this 3.0, 4.0, and the Dread Ops.
Yeah.
This is the most dev involvement I've seen.
Yeah. And as Xenof's buddy, I can't have him elaborate on that. So, guys, you know me in these sessions, I usually, my next thing I want to ask is, a question that dives a little deeper into that. But, unfortunately, I know where that rabbit hole goes, and we can't actually let you guys dive down it with us, unfortunately.
Nope.
But this actually brings up a really, really good topic, which we're encouraging you guys to jump into the PTS. You probably should also know, though, that there is a little bit of decorum that kind of goes with it. And for me, I haven't done one of these in a while that I kind of actually needed to be reminded of this. Because who you may end up playing with, you could be in there with people who are just like you. At your level, you might come in there and you might raid with people at a higher level. But there's definitely some do's and don'ts for being on the PTS. And, Penny, what would you think would be kind of your number one, hey, players jumping in on the PTS, the number one thing with a bullet you'd want them to know would be what?
It's not even just with the PTS. If you and your group, or if you in particular, have never done the content, whether it's, something like beta testing, or whether it's something like the Dread Ops, because there's a lot of new players who haven't had a chance to do that. If you get into a group that's willing to take you in and teach you, then you need to, one, be courteous. So that means listen. Any type of criticism they're giving you, it's not negative criticism, it's constructive criticism. Whether it's, hey, be a little bit quicker to move, or hey, throw this into your rotation, or, hey, can you do this? It's them giving you constructive criticism. And then also, don't talk over them. We understand you're excited. We're excited. We like to raid. Don't talk over the people who are trying to give instructions or making calls, because those calls are important. And it may be, what clears the content, and if they can't hear those calls through whatever voice comms you're using, then that's going to be a wipe sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. Especially if it's a newer group altogether. Mm-hmm. So basically, open your ears, shut your mouth, and basically enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And then don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Case in point, you miss something on Revan, you're gonna fuck it up. It's, pardon my French, oops. You're gonna.
Hey,
something
real talk,
is gonna
real
go
gamers,
wrong.
man.
Something is going to go wrong if you completely tune out on Revan. You're gonna miss something.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have some sort of responsibility somewhere in that fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that actually brings up a really good point. What do you feel like, guys? What has been your process? Because we're not actually talking about the fight, but we can talk a little bit about your process for breaking down new fights. So, your guys' team is Forsaken Morons, and for my audience out there, guys, I got a chance to run with these guys and Forsaken Morons on the PTS, which was a blast. I have been out of raiding for probably like a year and a half, so really kind of rusty, and they kind of invited me in on one of their runs, and we did this a few times, one which we were all kind of playing with it, one which I was kind of learning some new stuff. Each time really just blown away at the process that this particular team used to break down these fights. And I was wondering, would you guys be comfortable like talking a little bit about what some of the processes are? I mean, we're not talking about the techniques you use to kill a boss, but processes that you might encourage other players to use when they're tackling a new boss.
Going into any new raid, if you do your first pull, don't do anything. Sit there, watch the mechanics, look at the debuffs. Mm-hmm. If there's an ad that spawns, or if there's some kind of debuff going on for the tank, look at it and be like, okay, do we have to swap for that? Do you have to cleanse that? What do you have to do there? Do you just LOS the boss? Whatever. Mm-hmm. Every single raid I've ever gone into, that's the first thing we do. Be it on here, be it on something like Destiny,
or WoW, Terra.
When I raided in WoW, yep. Terra, etc.
Yeah.
Get the buffs, get the debuffs, and look at what's going on with the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the three things you want to do on the first pull.
Nice.
Yeah, and as a healer, that tank has a debuff. Can I cleanse that? What type of damage does that ad do as it runs to either myself or to a DPS, or is it untauntable? Am I just going to have to sit there and kind of face tank it until DPS can kill it? As a healer, I look at the fight differently. I'm anticipating, where's the damage going to come from? Yeah. Does the damage come after that big pull in, or that big roar like from Thrasher? I look where the damage is coming from and try and anticipate it. And then I also look like what's cleansable, what is shieldable. Like as a Sork, I get a bubble, and that negates some of the damage, or it absorbs it a little bit. And I always try to anticipate that. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit different from a healer perspective, because while yes, I'm paying attention to mechanics, I'm not like, okay, do I need to DPS that? No, it's, do I need to heal through that?
Yeah.
So it's a different mindset. And then for tanks, I'm sure I've only tanked for the fun of it. It was never a serious venture.
Yeah.
Most I've done was story mode back before it was bolstered. And it's okay, do I need to face it away? Do I need, I always have to make sure I have up, Dark Ward, have a good taunt rotation, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. I would throw in my 2 cents too, to guys. If you have never had the chance to test some of these things out for a new fight, or if you have your own team, or you have your own friends and you just feel like, hey guys, let's go in there and try this. Mm-hmm. I would say
my biggest advice would be more for the DPS squad, and my advice is like at least be in line with exactly what Penny and Xenoff just said. Like, do not worry about your personal abilities or your cooldowns or anything like that. Worry more about learning the mechanics of that particular fight. Because if you're standing in bad, you're not doing any damage anyway. I mean, that's common knowledge. But one of the things that really struck me, especially over this last week, because and I told Penny, Xenoff, and all the rest of Forsaken Morons this, I just got a new monitor for my computer and a new mouse, a new gaming mouse, and I've been off for like a year and a half. I ended up having a lot of tunnel vision during fights, and so this is really my way of telling you guys how to open up your eyes, is before you come in there, don't worry so much about doing your job perfectly until you know what's going on in the fight, and then you can work in your job
Yes.
and start doing it that way. Because otherwise, if you're just trying to go in there and blow guns, for whatever reason on a new fight, you're not going to get very far. And that tunnel vision effect is the one that I found with my old previous raids happened the most. I had a lot of guys who were parsing heroes who were really, really good about parsing on dummies and had just fantastic and phenomenal numbers. And then we would get into our particular fights, and that then would end up causing problems because they could really burn so hard. Sometimes too hard. Sometimes you got to know when to let off the gas. Sometimes you got to know when you got to just break off and do a utility thing like an interrupt. Sometimes you got to know when you're a DPS when you've got to be the off tank. You go ahead.
I will say, to kind of add on to you, Zach, the first few pulls that you kill it, it's going to be tight. The numbers won't be perfect. Yeah. As a healer, as a DPS, tanks, the numbers aren't going to be perfect. You might kill it with 3 or 4 people dead. That first kill is going to be messy. It's not going to be perfect. It is that way you guys see the completion of the fight, and then you know what to move in and do next time. And then your DPS, your heals, and everything, it will come as you learn the content.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Also, and this is something that I took for granted too, as I was running with you guys in Forsaken Morons, and this is my big tip to a lot of people because I had to remember this. If you are looking to tackle new fights, do a lot of the old ones first. Make sure you know those cold. And I know that sounds weird, because some people, especially if they're really progression-minded, think, always jump in and do the newest content as soon as it comes out. And that is really great, especially if you've grinded through all the old stuff. But all those old fights become reference points for how to describe a common language between everybody in that raid. So somebody in the raid might have said like, oh, this is just like blank, blank, blank maneuver in blank, blank, blank fight. And everybody goes, oh, yeah, and starts nodding their heads, and then there's me on the headset going like, shit, what was that fight? What was that mechanic? Like, I'm thinking about that, and it becomes a universal shorthand. And if you know it, and you're already on it, and you know those things cold, it just speeds up the process, I think.
Yep. No, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
And this isn't just... If you're honest, and you say, hey, I've never done this, like, be honest, because most of us, we're going to say, okay, not a problem, get into TS, and just listen. Like, just listen to what we tell you, and be able to take the criticism if we say you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Because I can tell you, the first time that I actually seriously raided, it was actually with Xenoff and his team, it was so hard to hear the criticism. The do better, push yourself harder. It was hard to hear because I was like, but I've done it. I'm pushing myself. And he's like, no, you're not. Because if you were, you'd be doing better. Like, hearing that, at first I was like, oh my god.
Xenoff, you said that?
I'm not an asshole, I swear.
He did.
I totally didn't almost make her cry. Her words, not mine.
He did. It was after like our first couple of raids, we weren't clearing the content, and I can admit to this because I wasn't pushing myself hard enough. I wasn't healing to my full capacity. Like
Yeah.
I stepped it up the next day, or the next raid day, meaning next raid day, and we cleared it because people weren't dying.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Because I was putting out the numbers that were expected of me. I took his criticism after raid. Yes, he said that in raid, but then we also talked after raid, and it was just really hard to swallow because I'd never had that type of criticism. Especially, I mean, this was my first raid. I had never healed anything except for some random flashpoints before.
Yeah.
When I say I had done like very little content, like if someone was to inspect my achievements, all of my content has the same achievements from my NIM kills because I went straight into NIM in 3.0. There was no other content that I did. And it was hard to swallow, especially when you're doing like walkers in 3.0 on TOS, you know.
Oh, yeah.
When we first went into that hurt. And
Yeah.
I wasn't doing as well as I could. And I stepped it up. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. I know, and that's I think that's what I have my own experiences like that. I used to raid on Beggar and Colony, and which is more, it's listed as an RP server, guys. So this isn't a place that
That's where we all came
automatically gravitated, the best players. And eventually we all made the move over to the Harbinger. I was invited over there by one of my old raiding friends, Veer, and she got me in this group, and the dude who was leading that was this dude, Aura. And man, this guy was a hard ass. I actually made a video about different types of raiders, and Aura was like the archetype for one of those types. I'm not telling you which. Viewers, you got to watch the video and you can guess. But he was one hard taskmaster. At one point, I remember, I'll never forget this quote as long as I live. Zach, do you even know how hunker down works? I'll never forget that as long as I live. And I was so pissed because I was like, fucking, I know how it works. Get off my back. I'll get it right. I've never been in this fight before. But I was pissed. I was so pissed. But you go back, and the thing was, behind the scenes, like, everybody knew he was just busting my ass that whole raid. But immediately after that raid was done, he went onto my ship. And for those of you guys who are listening to the show and don't play Star Wars: The Old Republic, on your every player, after you reach a certain level, gets a ship that you use to travel around the galaxy, and on that ship you can have a practice dummy to test your DPS on. And I was there, I was testing my DPS, and he came to my ship, watched me do, and like through watching my animations and then watching my scores that I put up on Parsley, broke down second by second my rotations that I was using and where I could be improving upon, and talked with me in depth about the fight. So like during the raid, he was literally like just killing my ego, like crushing my soul. And then afterwards, though,
I know that feel.
The side the rest of the raid didn't see, and why I feel it's important to explain it, because if you are this person, you can't just bust a person's chops. You have to also build them up. You know, if you know what they're doing wrong, you got to take that time. And if you guys are looking to head into newer content, then you got to be willing to be on either side of that equation. You might have to teach somebody something new. You might have to learn something new. Either way, you've got to really suck it up and be kind of humble.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, and you know, obviously I didn't quit, and you know, yes, Zenoff was very blunt. That's just how he is, especially if it's content that he knows we can clear. He was very blunt, but afterwards he's like, you try this, do this, I know you can do it. He built me up after, you know, being just like, hey, you're not doing it. So you have to learn that, you know, just because we might be blunt or to the point during the raid, that doesn't mean we're not going to sit and take you to side and be like, hey, you know, I noticed you were doing this, but if you do it this way, not only does that manage your force better as a healer, but it'll also give you the benefit of more healing. Mm-hmm. So we are willing to do that if people let us. Not everyone's willing to be taught, especially if they are new. So, you know.
Yeah, but those people don't last in raids very long. That's for sure. Okay, well let's segue just a little bit here, guys. So one of the things that I've noticed a lot after we do one of these shows is we will get questions from you guys, our viewers, and we haven't had too many. Most people just kind of write comments in and saying like, "Hey, dude, really love the show. Wish you guys did these more often." And I would have to just respond like, "Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could too." But I want you guys to know, it's like, yeah, we do notice those questions. And actually, I want to take a little bit of time today to try to answer some of the ones that have come in. And then also, I want to encourage you guys, if you do have questions that you would like us to answer on this show, go ahead and write them in the comment area below on these videos, and we will do them in the next show. And so that way, you guys can start developing a little bit of a dialogue with us. Because a lot of times I will pick the topic for the show kind of on a whim. Haha, yeah, there's no schedule. Real talk, guys, real talk. I don't plan these things out in advance, okay? I don't have a producer breathing down my neck. All right, so I kind of just go with what I feel. But if we have a good enough topic, maybe that comes up from one of your guys' questions, we'll spend a good deal of time on it, because this game is way bigger than just what we are talking about on the show. Actually, I was mentioning that to Penny. I think, Xenoff, you might have been out on break. We do a little talk before the show, and one of the things I had mentioned was, now I just lost my train of thought. What was it that I mentioned before the show? One of the questions that had come in from one of our gamers who watch our show, this is from GoHGamer Unsilenced, who asked, why is PvP so dead in this game? It takes me 30 minutes or more to find a match. And I thought this was such a great question, because when I come and do the show, I get tunnel vision. Big time. I usually talk about rating and like the PvE stuff that I normally do, and I will never talk about some of these other things because I just don't do them. So I actually thought this was a great opportunity to talk about these things. So let's put it to the panel here, Penny and Xenov. What do you guys think about PvP? Do you think it is dead in this game? Do you feel like that's an accurate assumption?
I would ask, what server are you on? Because on Harbinger, it is, from what I can tell in chat, it is not dead, but it is about as toxic as League of Legends.
Yeah. And that's not just Harbinger. Let us
wheel
that back in. PvP in general on multiple games that I've experienced tends to be toxic. And that's the best way to put it. Because the people are extremely competitive, and they're cutthroat, and they're trying to beat you down and kill your morale so they can win. But it does, like as Xenov says, is based on the server you play on. Harbinger ranked, they try to get people to pop solo. I believe there's some guilds that do like fours. And Regs has fairly regular pop.
I'm logged in right now, and there's a guy, he's trying to get healers to queue solo ranked.
Yep.
It's definitely not, I wouldn't even say dead per se. It's very niche. And
yes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I remember, for one, I think it's turned a lot of people off because for a while in 4.0, every single day I would log on, somebody was hacking or exploiting in ranked. So I think it turned a lot of people off. I don't know if BioWare has gotten that under control.
Yeah.
I don't PvP anymore.
We do regs.
But if that's... Personally, I don't even do that anymore. I haven't PvP'd in weeks.
Yeah.
So that definitely, I think, is part of it. Like, a lot of people are turned off to it. And I personally can't blame them. But if you like PvP, hop back in and try it again. It might have changed. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good point about the servers, too. Rating on BC was really tough to find. Not just, like, bodies to fill the raid, but then good players to fill the raid was just insane. And so I would say, yeah, why is PvP so dead in this game? Absolutely agree with Penny and Xenov. Like, server first. Like, what kind of server are you on, man? Because I remember when I first started gaming, I actually gamed in World of Warcraft, which had huge populations on their PvP servers, which I avoided like the plague. Because I just thought, like, man, I'm going to run into some, like, kill some gopher or something like that, and I'm just going to get ganked by some dude. Like, that's a thing, And one of the guys I lived with out here in California was one of those dudes. He literally, like, camped his character out where, people from the other faction would run out of after they first got to one of the new areas, and he'd just kill him. He's like, yeah, I love doing it. And I was like, yeah, so I'm never being on your server, Johnny. Like, that ain't happening. And, so there can be a really big community for it, depending on what kind of server you're on. So, I mean, if you're looking for a lot more PvP action, you might want to consider being on a PvP server. And that way, every time you see, a person from the opposite faction, I mean, it's go time. Live or die, do or die. Everything all or nothing. So,
And SWTOR made it so you can actually be in a PvE instance or a PvP instance. So everywhere you go, if you're in a PvP instance, you're flagged no matter what. So there could be anybody can gank you no matter what.
Yeah. So if you like that thrill of death always chasing you down like a gazelle in the Serengeti, you can have that. You can have it at any time you want at the push of a button. It doesn't just have to be a match or a ranked PvP. So go H Gamer. Hopefully that answered your question to some extent, and thank you again for sending that question in. I appreciate that.
I'm still of the opinion that we need player bounty hunting in the game.
Oh yes,
like in Star Wars Galaxies, somebody kills you
or
out
like in the Division,
or in the Division,
yeah,
where somebody kills you in open world PvP. You can put a bounty on them. Bounty hunters go to a terminal, pick up their mission. And they can go wherever, pub fleet, imp fleet, wherever they got to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go, please.
Yeah. I always wanted a Nemesis mode, where I always thought it was really interesting that, and I think we've talked about this, that certain characters never collided. Because I always thought the Emperor's Wrath and the Jedi Knight should have at some point met in the story, and hated each other. And like the mercenary, the bounty hunter, and the gunslinger. I mean, this is the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. It's the guy who can never be caught versus the guy who catches everybody. Why did these guys never run into each other? And so there's that part of me too that even just story-wise, I love that. And so if we could revolve something PvP around that too, I mean that would just be fantastic. Okay, second question. We got one from Michael. I'm not pronouncing your last name right. We'll just say Michael. This is from Michael. Michael, can someone explain why everyone hates CXP? I don't understand why it is so bad and ruins the game. Michael, boy, am I glad you asked that question. We actually had a whole episode dedicated to this, and the thing is, since we did that show, there's actually been a lot of changes. There's still also a lot of saltiness from a lot of players, and this is one of those times where Penny, Xenoff, let's just get real. We're gonna get real with you guys, okay? That's why we call this show Real Talk with Real Gamers. CXP is by far and away an imperfect system because of one factor, and that is three little letters that it ain't STD. Oh, sorry for bringing that joke back. It's it's RNG, random number generator, and the main issue people hate CXP for. Especially when it first came out, is that the rewards become random. So every level you get in your Galactic Command, you open up a crate, and in that crate could be like 4 or 5 different prizes, hopefully one of which is a piece of gear, hopefully. And when it first came out, that was the only way to get really upgraded pieces of gear or recipes to craft upgraded pieces of gear. And it slowed down progression and endgame content.
It would crawl.
Yeah.
So my opinion of CXP when it first came out, I hated it.
Yeah.
I do enough of the grind to level, which I also hate.
Yeah.
I hate leveling. I've got 14 tunes. They're all set. Half of them are 65 still. Half of them are 70. Because the grind of leveling after a certain point, like once you play through the storylines that you enjoy, it really just becomes that. It becomes a grind. Now they simplified it. It's a lot quicker than it used to be than back in the day. But you also have to grind your levels. You grind your legacy if you're fresh to the game to get that legacy level 50. And then once you pop 70, it ain't done. If you're a casual, then it's not bad, to be honest, for casual or for raiders now. The casual player who wants to do the occasional group finder, flashpoint, uprising, story mode op, they're geared enough, they're leveled enough, and then they can progress in a timely fashion that isn't like pushed or shoved down their throat with gear that they might not even know what to do with. Even if with the CXP, when you open the box, whatever spec you're in, you're going to get the gear for that spec. So if it's a Sorc healer, they can't go and buy a tank relic.
Right.
They can go and, get, like, the relics from the CXP packs, which kind of is nice. Yes, they do try to push, like, the ephemeral mending on you, but, we don't talk about those, we just delete them.
Yeah.
And for a raider, now that they've made changes, and they're continuing to make changes, for a raider it's even better. Because now, yes, it's still RNG, but you can have some pretty good luck. Like, we went into a hard mode KP and DF for fun last night, and we got 4 sets of head, 2 boots, 2 implants, and 4 relics.
Wow. It was not a bad night.
It was not a bad night for gear. And Xenoff ended up getting 2 pieces of gear out of his CXP crates, and I ended up getting a piece of gear out of my CXP crate. It's not perfect.
Right.
But they're working on it. And I'm willing to give them the time to fix it, because a lot of the stuff is craftable too.
Yep.
You can buy crafted gear.
And craft up to 240s. The issue, my thing with CXP right now is, one, if you're doing purely on crates, like you don't do operations and you don't PvP, you're just like story, flashpoints, and uprisings, you are very heavily weighted. It's very heavily weighed against you getting gear right now, it feels like. As I've gotten higher in the ranks, it feels like I'm getting more gear drops. I am at 89 right now, about to hit 90. But it's not enough. Like, the only reason I'm progressing as fast as I am is right now there's a triple CXP boost event going on.
350%.
250% or 300 something, and that's giving, it's like every ops boss I'm getting a pack now, which feels better than every 2 ops bosses I might get a pack. And raiders are getting better, but PvPers got, again, pardon my language, PvPers got shafted with the most recent patch. They got absolutely just destroyed because they have the most efficient way for them to grind gear is to go get 236s from hard modes and then transfer that into 242s. And to transfer from 236 to 242 is a lot of grinding. I think one of our guildies did the math on it for going straight from Tier 1 to Tier 2 to Tier 3 strictly through PvP. It's about 1,000 hours if you win most of your games. It's about 1,000 hours worth of grinding to get full 242 gear. And it's like, nobody's got time for that.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's not a perfect system. It is better than when it originally dropped. We were all salty when it dropped.
Yeah, we were.
Like, the Salt Factory was in high production, guys. Like, if I had fucking bad. Oops, sorry. If I
this episode we've already had a bunch of slips. I'll have to go back and put the beep sound effect
18
in.
plus.
Yeah, we'll do it in post.
Right. We were salty, and it's less so now. It's not perfect. They're still making changes, and I'm willing to give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's definitely in the right direction. Let's just hope it stays in that direction.
Right. And Michael, in response to your question, also one of my other commenters had mentioned that he had drawn a line in the sand. I assume it's it was a male name on his comment. Had basically said it's either CXP or me, and I would encourage players to not go to such extreme routes. If you enjoy the game, stick with it, but be vocal. And keep putting, your opinions out there on the forums and in comment areas on shows like this where, we do get seen by the devs, which is awesome. And,
I am a very...
Oh, yeah.
I'm a very big advocate of vote with your wallet. If you're subbed and you don't like where the game's going, unsub.
Yeah.
If enough people do that, they'll take notice. It took them long enough with ops.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's what you gotta do. Because when their profits drop, they'll see, okay, they don't like this. We need to do something about it.
Right.
And stuff like your channels, SWTOR Central, all of them. Mm-hmm. Go comment on those that you don't like these systems.
Yeah. I mean, don't spam me, guys. Come on. Like,
Zach can't do anything,
I love
guys.
You guys.
You can
that's not what
Zeno's
Zeno's
saying.
saying.
The forums and leave feedback. They do read the forums and they do read feedback. And they might not respond to your post personally, but if you actually tell them how you feel, and if you want to speak with your wallet, by all means. But I just don't feel like the CXP is... If you enjoy the game, and if you enjoy your guild, and your team, if you're on a team, or whatever it is you do in this game, I don't feel it's make or break, because there's other games that have just as big of a grind,
Yeah.
Like with the artifact weapons, I think that's what they're called in WoW. Like you have to grind to get that up too, and it's for one toon, unless it's a mirror of your toon.
Yeah. Like the legendary stuff out of Guild Wars 2, unbelievably expensive and takes such a long time to make. But here's the thing, and I will also say this too. So Michael, not everybody does hate CXP, but I am going to say, depending on your level of involvement with the game, will also change how you feel about it. Because if you're really only looking to just log in every now and again, like this is kind of where I'm at right now. I basically just log in for new events, have a little fun, log off, and, text back and forth with the girl I'm trying to date. It's like, we have a good time with that. But when I was seriously raiding and I was in every single day, gear became very important because that becomes the only way you can increase the stats on your character. So I would say CXP is going to matter to you depending on how intense you want to be in this game. If your level of involvement is super duper high and you're looking to tackle really tough stuff all the time, then how fast you get your characters geared up is going to really affect you. On the flip side, if you're really just casually kind of coming in and just doing stuff every now and again, and that's not a huge part of what you want your game experience to be, then you really don't need the highest level stuff, and CXP really isn't going to matter as much as it does to some of the people who are really pushing for the best stuff. Now, no matter what, the system has changed. The old system, I did like the old system. The new system for CXP is becoming a little bit closer to what we had before, where now there's vendors available that you can go and buy and purchase necessary gear from if you've earned up the right kinds of currency. It's still not perfect, but it is getting better, and the devs, they did listen, man. I mean, 350% XP boost until
April.
I think it's April.
April 10th.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're looking right now to grind out gear, and I would, by the way, if anybody here is looking to tackle the new operation boss when 5.2 comes out, start getting ready now. Like, go and get a part of any group you can, pugs, whatever. Get the best possible gear you can get, because
whether it's from Ops or from buying it off the GTN, you can get 240 stuff and have it either crafted for you or you can purchase it. Now, purchasing it does take a very shiny, pretty penny.
Yeah, it really does. I just spent $9 million on new barrels, so yeah.
Yeah.
I will. I'll give everyone that wants to hit the new operation a little tip. Grind out your CXP. I know I just said, it's such a bad system, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Grind it out, because it's average 1 rank per uprising. If you can get a group, hit Fractured, hit other ones, whatever. If you want to do it fast, hit Fractured. If you don't have a group, do Chapter 2 on Master Mode of Fallen Empire. That is another way to get really fast, easy CXP.
Nice.
It's about 5,000 a run for 15-ish minutes.
Ooh, that is really nice. And guys, I'm just going to straight up say, if raiding is important to you, then treat it as such. Get the best gear that you can, go in and be ready. If it is not, I would still recommend to even casual players, this is the best opportunity you're going to get for quite some time on grinding out CXP, unless they change the system completely, which I don't think they will. So take advantage of it. Anytime there's these mega XP boosts that they just give to you. I mean, it's 250 just for regular XP, just leveling up from 1 to 70. And then the CXP boost is like 350%. I mean, that doesn't feel like a lot when you kill a champion on Chapter 15 of, or a chapter, what's the one with Mandalorian, the Mandos? I think it's like 13 or 14.
Something like
Fallen
that.
Empire. It doesn't feel a lot when you get like 7 CXP from killing a champion there. But you go into a raid, and start killing bosses with a good team, and those add up really quick. All right, well, we are out of time, so this is we're just going to call it for this episode. But if you do have questions that you want to ask myself, Penny, or Xenov, and it could be anything. It could be about the game. If you want to ask us if we're single, I am going to draw the line. Okay, I got to protect my co-host, man. Hey, come on. Unless you're really cute, then go ahead and send that question. But if not, I am Zach. This is Penny and Xenov. This was Real Talk with Real Gamers. Send in your questions. We will try to answer them, and we will see you next time.